The bottom line is you've interviewed everyone, you've looked at all of the evidence, you've done an investigation. What do you think happened here?
What I think happened was, I think we have the child that possibly, and I'm going to say that word possibly, because we don't have anybody that has seen that child from the night before. We have two family members that have both lied on not only their polygraph tests, but on their witness statements.
You're talking about mom and dad.
We believe what has happened. Yes, mom and dad have both told us. Now we're up to 6 stories on dad and 4 stories on mom. So basically what we have is we have 2 parents that say they brought their child up to this mountain on a camping trip when we don't have any evidence that child made it up there on that camping trip. But let's go with what they do say, and if they do say they did bring them up there, then we do know something happened up on that mountain, basically for 2 reasons. We have blood evidence that was taken by the FBI on the wheelbase of a truck and also the bumper of a truck, number 1. And number 2, we also have the consistent statement, and I think it's interesting to try to vilify Isaac Renoir based upon a supposed mental history. Mr. Renoir has been the only one that has kept his story straight.
Well, that's a very interesting point. And Philip Klein, we're going to have to leave it right there. I thank you so much for joining us. Mark Eiglarsh, was that you trying to jump in a moment ago?
Yes, it was a simple question. I wanted to know whether it was in his contract that he can't go around publicly stating his findings.
Well,
I find this to be kind
listen,
of
Mark, let's talk about this for a quick second, lawyer to lawyer. I don't want to get too wonky here, but listen, investigators normally can't go out and run around and talk about their investigation when they're retained by the defense. But this guy says, I felt I had a moral obligation to do that. I felt that the parents were the ones responsible here. And by the way, they are presumed innocent. They have not been convicted. They have not been charged. They're merely suspect.
I'd never hire this guy.
Okay,
I'd never hire him if he turns around and then
you
for his
wouldn't
own
hire him,
benefit
but
tells everybody.
Okay, but Judy Howe, let me go to the non-lawyer, the civilian on the panel. I mean, does he have a moral obligation if he thinks a child has, come to a terrible end as a result of a family member? Does he have a moral obligation?
Yeah. Well, listen, private investigators are not mandated reporters like us psychologists are when we're treating somebody, but any citizen can make a report if they feel so that they'd have to because of an ethical obligation. So he can argue that. And I think at that point, he had already been talking to the police and law enforcement, and perhaps he had already let out a lot of information that at that point, the beans had already been spilled, and maybe he just went with it for other reasons as well. But I understand why he felt like he had to say something.
Okay, so Yodit, let me go to you. Let's put all of this together now. Forget the investigator for just a moment. Let's put together about what should be the center of this case, which is 2-year-old DeOrr. What do you think happened at this point? Yodit.
Are you talking to me, Lisa?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Honestly, this investigator just gave us some more information. I had no idea that there was blood evidence. All that I knew was that these 4 individuals brought this kid up to this national forest to have a camping trip, and that's all that we pretty much knew. And then all of a sudden, this kid disappears, and there's not a trace out there of him.
Okay,
that is all that I knew at this point.
Hold on. Philip Klein, back to you. I understand that a cadaver dog made a hit in the camping area, which I understand means there was a scent of death in the camping area. True or false?
That is true, and I can release to you tonight. We have had 3 areas that are going to need further excavation. Our cadaver dog comes from Trace Sargent from Georgia. She is the best dog in the United States of America as far as cadaver scent is concerned. And we do have 3 positive hits in 3 positive areas, and I believe law enforcement will be following up on that this week. We just returned from Idaho this last week.